and welcome to this teaching idea video on how to use a large model to teach speciation. Right, the key to this activity is to make sure that you're well prepared. Right, start off, go make a large island out of cardboard base, cover it in green paper and slice up into pieces that can be moved apart. After you've done this, make sure that you've got enough stuff to change the environmental conditions in each section, as you're going to want to show how the environmental changes in each section will help lead to the evolution of the species by natural selection. On the note of natural selection, make sure that as you're going through, you keep asking students lots and lots of questions to remind them and get them to recall about evolution. Right, finally, make sure that you've got loads and loads of different coloured tiddlywinks, because you can use those to represent the different species as they are evolving. Hopefully, the next short video should go and show you in a bit more detail how to run this activity. So, the first real thing to do is to go and build yourself a large island out of different pieces of card that can move apart. Right, you then start off by using counters that represent a single species. So you start off with a single species all across the island, all being the same. Right, but particular emphasis on the fact that they're a single species so they can interbreed with each other to produce fertile offspring. Right, you want to make sure that in your different sections you put slightly different environmental conditions, because that will give you the scope to go and talk about adaptations and how those adaptations are then going to lead to natural selection and speciation. Right, once you've got all this set up, you can start off by going and separating your islands out depending on how you've cut them up. Right, make sure that you're pointing out to students at this point that this is called geographic speciation, right, because they've been geographically isolated. At that point, you can then go and talk about an entire range of different factors and how by natural selection that would lead to different species changing in different circumstances. So in this one, where I've made a small mountain out of cardboard, we talk about having a predator that's in the mountain that swoops out. So it will be a genetically positive adaptation for them to be camouflaged, and the ones that are camouflaged will survive. Right, eventually they'll be able to interbreed with each other, so all of their offspring will all be camouflaged. So go change the colour of marker or the counter that you go in and you put it on to represent the fact that they're now a different species. In the second island I've just put a little forest there. We might talk about the fact that the only food that's available on this island are large nuts within that forest. So the only birds that are going to survive are going to be the ones with larger, stronger beaks. Eventually they'll survive, they'll pass on their genes, so all of their offspring are all going to have larger, stronger beaks. Right, so you go in and you're talking about a different environmental factor, or a different factor that's going to cause them to go and evolve. Right, you can also at that point go and relate that back to Darwin's finches. Right, as Darwin's finches is something that often comes up in the exam. In the third area, we've got a desert, so you can turn around and talk about, right, so in the desert there's only going to be cacti. Talk about the different shaped beaks that will be able to go and get in and eat those cacti. So you're talking about the fact that the only birds that are going to survive will have long spindly beaks. So eventually all of their offspring are going to end up with long spindly beaks. Right, then I always like to leave an island where the conditions haven't actually changed, so they more or less bob along as they are. Right, after you've done this, you can go and bring the islands back together. right? And then you can talk about how the fact that because they can no longer interbreed together, they can no longer be classified as the same species because they can't breed together to make fertile offspring, right? Another thing that you might wish to do is just to talk about behavioural isolations. So we could turn around, separate another bit off, say, right, so the only food source available to these birds only comes out at night time. So now these birds will become behaviourally adapted to only come out at night. If they become behaviourally adapted to only come out at night, if you then went and put these two islands back together, then these two species, even though technically they are a very similar species bird, will never actually meet each other to breed, because half of them will only come out during the day, half of them will only come out during the night time. Hopefully this video has given you some ideas how to teach this particular concept. If you've liked this video, please subscribe, like the video. There's links below to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and there's a link below to my shop on test where you can go and get a full copy of this lesson. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions below and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching and happy teaching.